This is the plaintiff, Joshua Valdez. He says he agreed to rent an apartment from the defendants, paid first month's rent and security, and before he stepped foot in the place, he got arrested. He was falsely charged with rape, had to go through the legal process, and when his good name was cleared, he discovered the locks on his apartment had been changed. When he called the defendants, they told him if he set foot anywhere near the apartment, they'd have their goon squad beat the you-know-what out of him. Huh? He's suing for the $5,000 he's owed for rent and security since he never lived there. These are the defendants, Robert Leffler and Dina Alto. Dina says she rented the apartment to the plaintiff and his cousin, and when the plaintiff got arrested, the cousin backed out of the apartment because he wasn't going to be able to afford it on his own. Then she ran the plaintiff's name and discovered he'd been arrested for a sexual assault. She has 3 other families living in the building, and there's no way she would put them in that kind of jeopardy. They're accused of not returning monies owed.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff rented an apartment from the defendants. But before he moved in, he was arrested for rape. He says it was a bum rap and he was cleared of all charges, but he still couldn't move in. Now, the defendants say they weren't going to take a chance. Short and simple. It's the case of you're a criminal and you can't live here.
Thank you, Douglas. Joshua Valdez, you are suing Robert Leffler and Dina Alto.
Yes, ma'am.
For $5,000, $27.90 of it money that you paid them in rent and security deposit and you didn't get to move in, and the rest of it for aggravation and defamation. All right, tell me what's going on.
I was on Craigslist looking for an apartment. I found an apartment right up the street from my mom's house, so I was like, this is perfect. Right down the street, I can go to my mom's house all the time, whatever. I went to see Mr. Leffler so he could show me the apartment, and I liked it. So I came back maybe 2 hours later with the money that he asked for, $2,790. I got all the receipts right here for all the monies.
Let me see.
And I also have the lease that they broke as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what happened?
I got arrested the very next day after we signed the lease. So I was charged with rape, that I was falsely accused of rape. I got out of jail. 3 days later, the locks are changed. She's telling me if I go to the apartment, she's gonna quote unquote have her goon squad pull me out. Or just all kinds of threats. And I was completely civil and it got to the point where she told me, I'll only give you $1,200 back. Out of $3,000, $1,200 is not good enough. I worked very hard for my money. So I took it to court.
What's going on? Who of you wants to address me? And tell me what's going on with
Your
this.
Honor, I first met him, as he said, when he came with his cousin. We asked him.
Cousin? He didn't say anything about a cousin. You got a cousin with you?
Yes, I have my cousin.
Who's the cousin? Where is he?
He was going to move in with me, but after all this, he said he just didn't want anything to do with it.
Where is he? Why isn't he here?
He didn't want anything to do with any of this.
Okay, are they both on the lease?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Well, Dina then met with them. They had sent some of the paperwork.
Okay, can you get to the actual case, though? What day did they sign the lease?
It was on the 12th, and I gave the keys.
Okay, so you
Or
give
the
them the
11th,
keys on the
11th
12th,
to
and they're
12th.
supposed to be moving in on the 15th, correct?
Well, they actually did move in on the 12th. They did.
On the 12th.
The 11th or 12th.
Okay, the 2 of them move in on the 12th,
Yes.
according to you.
Yes.
And how do you know they move in on the 12th?
Oh, I have text messages to prove because they
Let me
questioned
see your phone.
Sure. Here. This one shows.
What happens after they move in?
Okay.
Who these texts from? John?
That's from John.
John, not
Yes.
from Joshua.
Right.
So John moves in, and do you get any texts from Joshua that would indicate that Joshua moved in?
They did.
Okay,
My
so
other
just a
tenants saw
second. You
them.
keep saying that, but first I want to go back to the text that leads you to believe that, it leads you to uncover that Joshua got arrested for
Okay,
rape.
what had happened was after they already had the keys and the lease, all right, finally I get his IDs. I run the background. I find out that all over Florida, he's a criminal, a lot of different activity.
Okay,
So
but
I
hold
did-
on. So you did the criminal background check, but you did it after you gave them a lease
Well,
to
what
sign?
happened was John gave me all of his physical copies.
Why are you nodding? Yeah, it's your own fault you didn't find out what I am. I mean, I don't know why you're
But
nodding
you know
like
what
that.
he did? John gave me everything. Joshua promised it to me.
Just don't give them a lease until they give you the stuff.
Well, the thing was, you feel bad.
No, you don't feel bad. You want their money. Please don't do that again. This is a money-making enterprise. It's a business. You don't look at him and feel bad, okay?
Well,
this is not like some woman with 7 kids who's out on her luck, who's just coming from a homeless shelter. You wanted the $2,700, and that's why, can you get that back up? Get the text back up. So you finally do the records check after you've given them a lease and they're moved in. Okay, swift.
Right.
And then you discover that not only does he have a record, right?
Right.
He has a record for what?
Robberies, assaults, everything from Florida. He just came up. But I said to him, you lied. You forwarded everything on the application.
Wait, how did he lie on the application?
Oh, they was never arrested, never
Let me see the application. And then he told you that he worked somewhere. Did you do an employment verification?
I called up. They never even heard of him. He claimed he worked for Mount Vernon Hospital Security. I called them up. They never even heard of him. 2 days later, all right, we're trying to get a hold of him. John called me and he's like, look, I can't reach him. His cell phone's off. And I'm like, you know what?
So John's telling you he's disappeared.
Right. And lo and behold, he was locked up in Valhalla prison for rape, robbery, and assault. Then when he finally got out, one of his little comments, oh, well, it's no big deal. But I had already informed him if anything happened, that he would void the lease. All right. John, the cousin, while he was in jail, he said to me he doesn't want to live with him. And honestly, Your Honor, it wasn't even his money. I have the text messages to prove that as well.
I'm looking at text messages from John that says that the only part of the deposit that he put was the $790.
Right. Yes.
And according to you, the rest of the money came from John?
Yes.
Okay. And the money orders are in John's name, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me see that they're in your name because I'm looking, I don't see your name on here.
Those are mine.
I gave that to him.
You have photocopies?
I have everything.
Let me see. Because your cousin is texting her that he put $2,000 and you put $790.
Yeah, that's because he was trying to get the money back from her
No.
because she clearly stated that she was not giving me anything.
No, that's not what he said.
whatsoever.
He went, what? Oh, no, I told you it was mine. And on top of that, I have all the slips and the slip from the cashier to prove it was mine. What's his is what we spoke of yesterday, which is that stupid $790. I told you that was between you and him, but the $2,000's mine. That's not him trying to get money out. That's him trying to get his money out.
No,
what he's saying is his.
That's him trying to get the money back because she at first was saying she's not giving anything back because I'm a rapist and this and that. And I have the paper right here saying that that case was dismissed and sealed, the disposition.
Okay, let me ask you this. Has John made any claim to the money?
No. We did discuss it. Your Honor,
But how do you get to keep everything? Because you
No.
change your mind about whether people live there.
No.
I agree with you that this is a game changer, perhaps, but there are consequences to breaking the lease. Like you want to break the lease and keep all the money, and that's the part I'm not getting.
Your Honor, that was not true. If you give me my phone, I will show you. I had made several appointments.
Appointments for what?
For them to come in and meet in his office.
And do what?
And to return certain portion.
How much do you think you're entitled to?
Well, we lost out on over a month. It took us over a month to rent the apartment. And then Joshua would call and threaten me. All right. And I did tell him, I do not want you back at the building. I did not like his criminal history. I did try and give him a chance in the beginning. And then.
And I see actually the text between you and John where you're saying, where are you? We're supposed to meet this morning. The rest of my week is crazy.
You know, it's like I went out of my way to try and do the right thing.
Yeah, but no, that was in February. I mean, you could always mail him what you think is appropriate. You didn't do that.
I had no other address.
Because here's a problem.
Go ahead.
You're really upset that he's a criminal, but then you're keeping money you know you're not entitled to. Because you say, oh, well, they never met us, so we're just going to keep it.
No, not at all, Your Honor, because I've even tried making contact.
The rent was how much?
$13.95.
And how much did you get?
It was $27.90.
How it works is you're entitled to keep a certain amount, and then beyond that amount, you cannot keep, which is what, by your own admission, you recognize that there's a certain amount that you're not supposed to be keeping here that you just didn't send to them. Yeah.
Your Honor, the issue was that each one of them contributed something, and we did not know.
I know, which is why that lawyer that you hired needs to educate you on what you're supposed to put inside of this lease, which is a sentence that is in a lot of standard leases about that either and both of you are entitled to any and all part of the security deposit, and payment to one is payment to both. You know what I'm saying? Did you want to respond to the things that they said?
Yes. First off, I never, ever, ever set foot in that apartment except for when I was being showed the apartment. Besides that, I never set foot in it. We signed the lease. I got arrested the very next day. I was in jail for 3 days, and when I got out...
Did you lie to John about where you were, your cousin?
I was working at McRoberts Protective Agency, and they had...
No, did you lie to John about you being arrested, or did John know?
No, he knew. He just didn't want to put my business out there.
Right.
It's not for everyone to know, you know?
Right. Okay. It seems to me that there's no dispute that $697.50 needs to go to that side.
Yes.
To him and John, right?
Yes.
Because that's the excess beyond a month and a half rent.
Yes.
Okay, so your concern is that you do not want John chasing you for that after you've paid it out to the one guy.
Well, according to John, it is his money.
Did you get these from John?
No, those are mine.
Okay. There are only two possible things. They're either his or he got them from John.
He got them.
Which would mean either way that
Exactly.
he has John's approval to come here. Does John know you're here or no?
My cousin, no, he doesn't.
You don't talk to each other?
No, we haven't talked in about a month. I've been in Florida. After she did that, I was homeless for a few weeks. I had to move to Florida.
No.
It was either move to Florida or live on the streets because I had nowhere to go. I spent $3,000 on an apartment.
Did you change the locks on him?
Yes, she
John,
did.
I was given permission by the roommate to change the locks. He was in panic, all right, and he was physically there when the locks were changed. I mean, I can call him on the phone.
He was in a panic? Is that what you said?
Yes.
What was he in a
because
panic
he was
about?
nervous because he said he doesn't have the money to pay the rent. I said, but you could stay here. He said, no, he doesn't want to be with him because he said when he came up from Florida, he had such a criminal history.
Okay, but understand something. In the light most favorable to you, you get to keep a month and a half because you changed the locks on somebody and no longer wanted them to live there because they were charged with rape. The case was dismissed when?
A few weeks ago, it was dismissed.
A few weeks
and sealed.
ago?
Yes.
Oh, so it was pending against you all this time?
Yeah, dismissed
How did it get
and sealed.
dismissed? Let me see.
I went to court and they completely dismissed it, sealed it. They did a rape test kit and everything was confirmed that nothing ever happened.
Certainly this confirms that the case got dismissed. Not why it got dismissed, but that it got dismissed, that's for sure.
She was calling me all kinds of rapist and this and that. And like, you've only known me but for 2 days. How could you come at me like that?
Do you have his criminal record?
Yeah, I was.
I
May I
don't
see
have
it?
it with
I
me,
was
but
not
he
convicted.
even...
Why would you not have it with you? Did you threaten to have a goon squad beat him?
Yes, she
Never,
did.
never. But he did call me, and excuse the language, he told me he was going to beat my behind. He was breaking in the apartment. It's all, I can show you. Wait.
Let's see it.
This is why,
Let me show you.
ma'am, this is why I took it to court because I didn't want any of those
But I
problems.
have-
Okay, but let me see the text.
That's what I'm going to do.
Why did it take you so long to rent the place?
It's in a neighborhood that it's not for everybody, and we also want to be cautious about who comes into the apartment.
I can see how cautious you are.
This one. But they had already been in the apartment. Your Honor.
Okay, everybody stop talking now. Thank you. This is January 28th. He's texting you, we need to speak. Why are you ignoring my calls? You keep ignoring me and giving me the runaround so you can stall. I'll be moving in if we don't get our money back without any exceptions. Please give me a call. Thank you. You respond to him, don't threaten me. I'm dealing with John and you're not stepping foot in the building. I will have you arrested. So that sounds threatening, Dina, which is not nice. I'm not one who threatened you. I am dealing with John and the lease is voided. He responds to you, Dina, me getting locked up had nothing to do with our agreement to rent the apartment. You changing the locks on us is totally illegal. You know, one guy can't give you permission to lock out another guy. They both have access to the place. So you either were justified in doing what you did or you weren't, but the one guy can't make you justified. Court's in recess.
All rise.
So if he wasn't convicted of rape, does the landlord have to let him in if he signed the lease?
Yes, he has to, because rape has nothing to do with the lease.
What if he lied in the application, which he did, and said he was never arrested and he was? Can the landlord then keep him out?
No, he was still not convicted, so therefore he signed.
But if it says, were you arrested, and he says no, technically he lied, right?
Yes, technically.
Can they then kick him out if they find out that he lied?
I would have to consult my lawyer.
Okay, I'll be your lawyer for a minute. I would say yes.
Yes.
There you go. Going inside the courtroom.
So let's think this one through. Two people come up to you and express an interest in the apartment. They fill out forms. You do no background check until you've already signed the lease with them. You do a background check. You panic when you see the background check. You don't have the background check to show me, so I did my own background check. And I am definitely seeing
Burglary. Yes,
and that was dropped. When it says null prost, that's a fancy Latin word for we're not going to prosecute. They dismissed it. So you have to be able to tell what's a conviction, what's not, or maybe not. Maybe you just don't want anybody who's getting arrested all the time because either he's really unlucky and he keeps getting charged with stuff like burglary that he didn't do, or you just don't want him. Now, I totally understand that you might say, I don't want a guy with this record, much less just got picked up for rape, living in my units. The problem we have is that you don't just decide that. You decide that and then you keep the money. You change the locks and then you keep the money. Okay? So let's figure out who's breaching. Where in your lease does it say you may not be arrested for a crime, and if you are, you have no place to live and I get to change locks?
Well, Your Honor, there is a conduct issue. Mm-hmm. Right, and it is in lease, and I'll point it out to you.
Okay.
It is 15, number 3.
Landlord may give 5 days written notice to tenant to correct any of the following defaults. 3, improper conduct by tenant or other occupant of the apartment. Okay, tell me what improper conduct by him as a tenant you gave him 5 days notice of.
I actually gave it to John.
Okay, you got to stop this. I'm just going to tell you how it is, all right? The bottom line is you locked him out, and he is one of the tenants there. A lockout in your state is criminal. It's a misdemeanor. You now should be having a criminal record. Do you understand? You cannot do a lockout. You don't get to turn around and say, you can't move in, I'm locking you out, and by the way, I'm keeping your money. Those aren't your options, okay? They're just not your options. Now, the next question is, you're worried because there's 2 people, and who do you pay the security deposit to? The person here with all of the proof that it was his deposit is him. Therefore, he's proven in this court that he's the one with the receipts for the money, and I'm ordering the money to be returned to the plaintiff in the amount of $2,790. Not your aggravation or defamation, just the $2,790. Okay? That's my judgment. Good luck, folks.
Well, the judge finds the defendant acted illegally. Come on in here, and so therefore you lose this case. So why did you take the actions that you did? Do you regret doing that now?
No, honestly, I don't, because there wasn't.
Well, you realize they weren't legal, though.
Well, technically, in a way, I had already had a prior conversation with him once his history was found out.
You can't just void the contract. Right. All right. Go right down there, and let's see what the plaintiff has to say. All right, come on out here. No aggravation or the other stuff, but you get the money she owes back.
Yeah, I just didn't want any of this altercation to begin with. I just wanted my money and to go our separate ways.
You were spending so much time in courts with. So how has the false accusation affected your life?
It hurt me a lot. I mean, I was homeless for a little minute because of it.
So you're starting over?
I had to start completely over.
And how's it going?
Not so well. I mean, it's better than being homeless, though. So
okay, all right, Harvey.
There's a maxim in the law called the law abhors forfeitures, which basically means if there is any way to construe a deal where somebody doesn't just automatically forfeit money, the judge will construe it that way. They don't like people to just automatically give up money. That will do it for this case of litigants. For the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.